We are invited on this Sunday to consider wisdom and to put it into practice. Wisdom is not simply a collection of facts that are known by somebody. That does not equal wisdom. Wisdom requires that you take what you know and apply it for the good. There are a lot of people that know a lot of stuff that apply it to evil. That is not wisdom. Wisdom and intelligence are not the same thing. They're related, but they're not the same thing. How do you take what you know and apply it to do the good? That shows wisdom. Now, in today's gospel, I know from talking to people over the years, many are confused by Jesus doing this deflection thing. This is a cultural technique. He's very Middle Eastern in this. So, in the Middle East, ancient world, if someone would come up to you and give you a compliment and you didn't know them, you would deflect the compliment. So Jesus saying to him, "Why do you call me good?" is like us saying, "What's your agenda?" It's the same thing. So Jesus is deflecting that question. This is very typical of his culture. And he invites the man into something quite a bit deeper. I believe this young man was coming to Jesus with the attitude that Jesus would praise him. And why? Because he was rich. In their world, it was assumed that if you had a lot of money, God liked you a whole lot. And if you were poor, God didn't like you very much. That's why you're poor. Now, we think that's kind of strange, but guess what? Their world and yours are not the same. So they didn't think the way you're thinking. They assumed wealth equaled God's love. So Jesus, once again, as he often does, turns the table on cultural norms. And he invites the man into something deeper. He did, in fact, keep the commandments. You notice Jesus didn't say, "No, you didn't. I know when you slipped up on all those." He didn't argue with him on that. He said, "You lack one thing." And that was not expected in that culture. Nobody would say, in order to be really loved by God, get rid of all your wealth. To them, that's crazy. This is why when they get back in the house privately, they're amazed at what Jesus said. They've never heard that in their lives. What in the world is he talking about? Get rid of your wealth. The young man reminds me of someone who lacks wisdom. In this case, I would say because of this, what I pick up, he knows the price of everything. He has no idea what the value is, but he knows the price. I think all of us know if you're a good shopper, simply because something is on sale doesn't mean it's a good value. And the sticker might say value and big names on it, a big word, but that doesn't mean that. You have to be careful. What level of quality are you getting for what you pay? That's a question of value. The cheapest or the most expensive isn't necessarily valuable. Might be, but not necessarily. This man knows the price. He knows the price of what Jesus wants. Jesus wants him to give up everything to follow him. And that's too high a price for this man. And the value that he lost, it's incalculable. He could have been one of the great early followers of Jesus Christ who knew him personally. And he said no. Wow. You see the difference between price and value and wisdom. In wisdom, we need to take what we know and apply it to be good. There are many examples of this. I was looking at something recently where Kurt Warner and his wife have helped to develop a home for people with various disabilities where they can live independently from their families. That's a great experience for these people, so they can feel so many examples of people in this community and others who really are pretty well off and constantly help others as a result. That's a beautiful thing. You see, they're not making their wealth a prison. And I know many people who make wealth their prison. There are people that are worried that they're only worth X million dollars this year when they were worth X plus whatever the year before. Oh, I'm poor. We call it psychic poverty. They think they're poor. It's astounding, but it happens all the time. They're so terrified that they don't have something quite as much as they did, that their whole life is colored by, oh, I don't have, I don't have, I don't have. Wealth becomes a prison. But so many others, wealth is an opportunity to see the world become a better place by how they help. Beautiful. Sisters and brothers, I want to keep the homily pretty short today because we're doing baptisms. But I really want you to understand this, that wisdom is not the sum total of information that you know. It's taking that and applying it to the good. One example I'll give you of that is scientists. There are many of them who know so much. And many of them choose to say, well, then faith doesn't make any sense. But you know what? Many of them do the opposite. Because of what they know, faith makes abundant sense. See, they take what they know and apply it to the good. Bringing your children here for baptism, you're saying, it's time that they begin to learn as they grow, and this is not too young, to choose the good and avoid the bad. It's time. I'm so glad you're not waiting. I've heard that so often. Well, wait till they're older and they can choose. Well, they choose based on knowing nothing. That's no choice. That's stupid. They don't let them choose to learn geography. These are things you need to know in order to make wise choices. You gather it all up, all the things you know, and then look to the good, and then make your choices. That is wisdom. Jesus Christ is wisdom in the flesh. That young man said, the price is too high. I hope all of you in this church will say, what a value in Christ. Really different. Okay, people, make the outcome of this gospel different.